So President Biden appointed Seth Harris to be his deputy assistant for labor and economy and hopes Harris will assist the administration's workers' rights efforts. However, Harris, who was Obama's former acting and deputy secretary of labor, conceived the idea behind Proposition 22. That is an act that passed in California that categorizes app-based gig workers like Uber drivers as independent contractors rather than employees. That allows their employers to provide a minimum level of benefits.
Staff writer at Motherboard, Edward Ongweso Jr. He joins us now to discuss Harris's involvement in Prop 22. Let's talk about this, Edward. What exactly is going on here with this man and his past record in terms of labor rights and Uber?
Right. So I think Seth Harris, may on the face of things seem like a good pick for labor because, he's a former acting and deputy, Secretary of Labor under Obama. But, if you look just a few years before that, this is someone who leveraged their connections in the federal government to become a lobbyist, right, that advertised themselves as someone who will help you get this done, someone who helped craft, the inspiration, Prop 22, right? They helped formalize this concept of a third category of worker, right? Which is a hybrid between an employee and independent contractor. So you get none of the protections of employee status and all of the exploitation of independent contractor, essentially. And this served as the inspiration in, Uber, Lyft, and the gig economy's attempts to undermine labor law, to make compromises with unions or, to force unions to compromise with them over the past few years. So his innovations, the stuff that he's helped come up with has been a huge blow to U.S. labor law over the past few years. Not to mention that, at the time that he made that paper, right, he was working at this law firm who, is a big corporate firm that pretty much just protects employers, right? They help them break unions or, develop union busting techniques or defend them from NLRB disputes. I mean, this is someone who really should have no place in administration that's hyping itself up as, the most pro-labor administration in, U.S. history.
Yeah.
Can you go into a little more depth about how he helped lay some of the intellectual groundwork for that Prop 22 and the idea of basically screwing over the gig workers who Uber depends on for their business model?
Right. So there has been, I think going back even before this paper, a debate over classification of drivers, ride-hail drivers, which, gig workers, Uber and Lyft and drivers are. The app, tries to say that there's something different, but they're really fundamentally ride-hail drivers, also known as taxi drivers, right? And there's been a debate and attempts to reclassify them as employees or independent contractors for the past, a few decades, going, actually stretching back, a century. So what Harris does, along with economists from Princeton, Alan Kruger, is pen this study that says, look, labor law is inefficient right now. And the main concern of labor law should be efficiency of the labor market, not the livelihood of the workers, not whether they're making ends meet, but the efficiency of the labor market in employing people, or at least getting people work. And so one way to do this is to, formalize some category of work, right, where it is not as expensive to bring on that worker for the firm, and so they can hire as many people as possible inside of that category. And so the third category is excluded from things like a minimum wage, overtime benefit, workers' compensation, because those are, typically significant costs that come with employing a worker, right? At the same time, they are given some benefits to incentivize the spread of this category. They're given access to protection under the Civil Rights Act, right? They're given protection from some workplace harassment, and they're given the right to collectively, and in some instances, depending on the specifics of that arrangement.
Yeah, really interesting, Edward.
Really significant reporting. Thank you for bringing it to us. Who they're picking for personnel has so much to do with their actual orientation vis-a-vis labor. Edward, great to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Great to see you all, too.
Absolutely.
Coming up, friend of the show, Ryan Grimm, joins us to talk about changes in the Democratic Party in Nevada. You're going to enjoy this one when Rising returns.